If this were a regular championship, this one would already be wrapped up. Victor Miranda has been nigh on unstoppable this season, and he has booked his place at the shootout at this very circuit in October. But there are still 2 places to book, and there are 8 drivers who want to find themselves here at the Virginia International Raceway, shooting out for a seat worth $500,000 out there at this point. You can't ask for much more. It's a season finale here with us, and the Skip Barber Racing School Formula iRacing Series returns to VIR for 2 races to decide who joins here in the real world in October and who finds themselves on the outside looking in. Welcome to today's coverage. My name's Jake Sperry. Joey Atterbury is alongside me for the ride. Daniel Costello in the director's chair using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. But what a place to finish this one off. We were here earlier in the championship at round 2 overall of this 5-round season, and it started absolutely fantastically when we were at Circuit of the Americas. We then joined over at VIR for amazing racing action on the grand course before we headed over to America's National Park as Speed, of course, Road America. Lime Rock Park proved to be a fantastic bull ring, and Joey, this is where we are tonight. We've got to decide it all. VIR on the track that everyone knows and loves, this configuration.
We are back on the full course of Virginia International Raceway, one of my favorite racetracks in the entire world. 3.27 miles, 17 turns in length, and plenty of elevation changes to throw at these drivers. A couple of key passing areas. You see the main straightaways going down into turn number 1 and also turn number 14. Those are your 2 biggest and best passing zones, but the turns in between are incredibly technical. The uphill S's, the climbing S's, they're so incredibly fast here. And then Oak Tree down at turn number 12, always a famous turn.
Well, the iRacing Formula IR04 has been the car of choice. It's a fixed setup race, and race 1 is 15 minutes long, and it will set the grid up for race 2, another 15 minutes, half an hour's worth of racing here tonight. And by the end of half an hour's worth of racing, we will know who will be heading to the Virginia International Raceway. But to get a broader understanding, if you're here with us for the first time, of course, with some sim racing action, this is your chance to learn here today. Let's take a look at our GSRC track guide. This will tell you what VIR, Virginia International Raceway, is all about.
Welcome to Virginia International Raceway. Only a short trip away from the state's border with North Carolina, this track has had the rare blessing of being resurrected from the dead. After closing for a quarter century, once it was rebuilt, it quickly began to draw major sports car series to its halls. The new owners didn't skimp on refurbishing the place either. An impressive 5 versions are available on iRacing with a range between 1 and 4 miles in length between them. With that much pavement, the plethora of corners have earned some colorful nicknames. The horseshoe kicks things off right away with a never-ending double apexer that tends to suck the greedy out into its runoff. Later on, the climbing S's force you to thread the needle before spinning you out into the steep drop at South Bend. Then, of course, there's Oak Tree, which sadly no longer sees its namesake landmark on the inside of the turn, but still retains its frustrating difficulty. Let's not forget one of the scariest obstacles at the end of the lap, the roller coaster. The incredible speed drivers carry up into this blind braking zone is what causes it to require such immense bravery to get the most out of the lap. While passing can be tricky here, the long backstretch nicknamed Madison Avenue and the lengthy front stretch do tend to offer enough of a draft that you can still give a go at a pass. Still, track position is usually an important factor in most races. With the picturesque backdrop of the Appalachians around them, fans are not left wanting when they come to watch drivers face off at this historic track. It's no wonder the circuit has found success in its second chance at life.
In an iRacing sense, VIR will always have a soft spot in many different drivers' minds, Joey. This was the place which was one of the first iRacing circuits on the service and the host of the first ever iRacing endurance round ever in iRacing history, of course, being the Virginia Targa.
It was also my first professional race ever back in the Volkswagen TDI Cup days, which you can still go and race on iRacing. Super excited to be here to end it all. Of course, it's the home of Skip Barber Racing School right there at VIR. So it's no wonder why we're here in the F4 cars. And in my opinion, it's one of the greatest tracks in all of North America. It is a roller coaster of a ride. And I can't wait to see what the cars are going to do on the full course. It's not the grand course anymore.
Well, there is a reason sometimes why this circuit is known as America's Green Hell. This is a circuit which has a lot that puts it on the board. But we got two drivers who are currently in. I would say it's Ivan Machado and Matt Busa. Everyone else is hoping for a way to rattle their way in, and they are looking for this right now, which is popping up on screen. A top 3 finish, which is a 3-day racing school, a Skip Barber Racing School coaching program, and then entry into the Skip Barber Racing Series Formula Car Shootout, which is going to be absolutely massive. You've then got the 1-day school for 4th and 5th. Hot lap qualifiers, all of them get $200 worth of credit to Skip Barber Racing School. And of course, you've got the individual racing prizes, which are all there, Joey.
Yeah, I think it's what everybody wants. It is just the opportunity for the drivers to get out there in the real world.
Yeah, and well, this is how the grid is going to stand. It's Felipe Cabrera Loyola, who is on the pole position on a 148.651. Leo Ovcharov, who is in the championship running as alongside for company. Matt Caruana starts third with Victor Miranda, the champion, in 4th position. Ivan Machado needs 55 points today to 100% guarantee his spot through. He starts off in 5th with Shoma Shintani there in 6th position. Aiden Young will go from 7th with Matt Busa in 8th place. A very tight qualifying here today with Byron Mitchell 9th and Cody Deeth in 10th there, Joey, meaning that you've got 6 championship contenders 5th through 10th.
And across the page is Cade Middleton in 11th, Patrick Hingston in 12th, Clay Morris 13th, Andrew Moran in 14th, Stephen Cody in 15th, Cal Adrian Cohen in 16th, Sebastian Schettini in 17th, Ross Banfield 18th, and Bryce Wire in 19th.
The one car missing is Matt Adams, who could not turn up to today's race. So the number 10 machine will effectively get DNS points, which are none, which will mean that all these drivers, when they look down and see what's the minimum amount of points they can score today, the answer is 12 per race for those 19 positions. Now, it's worth keeping in mind how this championship looks if you were to take all the drop rounds away and strip them down to the points which they've scored at the moment. It'll be Ivan Machado on 180, safe at the moment by 12 over Matt Busa, who is the cut line at 168. Matt Caruana, who's got no drop rounds in the back pocket, is just 3 points adrift with Leo Ovcharov at -10. You've got Byron Mitchell at -15, along with Aiden Young at -16. And then you've got Cody Deeth at -20 with his missed rounds last time out, and Shoma Shintani down at -22 as they look to go through. The big key here today is going to be Matt Busa's very strong drop round, Joey. He's got an 8th place as a drop in the back pocket. That's 23 championship points.
It's a lot of points that's hanging out there, but I think that we still have 2 races of 15 minutes each to look forward to. And the drivers, yeah, they're focused on that big championship prize and getting inside the top 3 to book the ticket to VIR. But guess what? You got to get through these twin 15-minute races before you actually get on the real airplane.
Yes, and there are going to be a lot of drivers hunting out there, including Felipe Cabrera Loyola, the pole sitter, who will be looking to try and score a little bit of bonuses out there and try and round off his season with a bit of sunshine, even though he is not eligible to make the shootout as things stand. So at VIR here in Alton, Virginia, a track of 54 degrees. It is scorching here right now in Virginia, and we're going to see some fiery racing right now as the iRacing pace car has already made its way down into the pit. The pace is behind the Chilean out there at this moment as we get the green flag and we are underway. Leo Ovcharov heavy on the pinch down on Matt Caruana, making that charge now over towards that opening corner out on track. It's going to be so vital that everyone hits the brakes nicely, and Ovcharov runs a little bit deep, which allows Victor Miranda to now sneak his way up towards 2nd position. 3rd at the moment with Matt Caruana a little bit there stuck on the outside, trying to dive through and sliding through, and the mark of a champion that Victor Miranda is as he easily slides his way up to 2nd.
There's might be a little bit of nose-to-tail contact back there, about 6th or 7th place. Our top 4 have a little bit of a gap before they get to even Machado back there in 5th place. You see, and we've got a huge contact, a giant wreck in the lower S's.
Booster's got no front right. That's huge for the championship. The man who is on the gate line. He found himself there in trouble. Kane Middleton in trouble. Galadrian Cohen, Patrick Hingston, drivers who are in trouble. It's completely thrown this one wide open for Matt Caruana, who finds himself in 3rd position. Now a favourite to put himself through with Leo Ovcharov, with Ivan Machado. But expect these drivers to go out there and push to try and get through. Of course, it's worth noting there's no fast repairs in this series, so that will be as you find it right now. Battle for the race lead, and it's going to be 3 wide as they go. Caruana side by side with Ovcharov, side by side with Miranda, side by side with Cabrera Loyola, and ultimately it's now Miranda up to the point.
I think the big difference between the grand course and the full course that we are about to see here is that the drafting opportunities, the draft pack is always there. It doesn't break up that giant back straightaway. So we had 3 cars battling for the lead on the back straightaway. And look at this. Now we've got 5, 6 cars in the draft line going down the front straightaway. It's Caruana all over the back of Felipe Cabrera Loyola, and now 3 wide once again going into turn number 1. The car on the inside, Felipe is going to argue for the lead. He's going to come out with it.
Oh, he is, and this is not what Matt Caruana wants. He's got to try and guarantee a finish, and look at what it's doing. It's bringing Ovcharov back in. Miranda to the inside. A bit of Latin American flair as it's Brazil versus Chile as they move in through the left hook and the right hook and now enter the snake, where it was the contact between Middleton and as well with Byron Mitchell, which caused the incident that took Matt Boosa's front right tyre off. But ultimately they fall into line, and now the group formed with Ovcharov, with Ivan Machado in 5th, Shoma Shintani needing points, Aiden Young in that group in 7th, and Andrew Moran, who's 9th in the championship walking into today, but ineligible with his drop rounds to make the championship, the first of those cars behind. You have got 7 now at the front, and you look into the eyes of Victor Miranda, he has got a very rowdy group behind him.
Yeah, but he nails the exit of turn number 12, known as Oak Tree. I know the tree's not there anymore, but that is the most important corner on VIR. It leads you on to the longest straightaway, and it just kind of puts everybody else at a stiff arm length. He's got them side by side behind, and Felipe is going to be boxed in. I think it's going to be Caruana that's going to take over 2nd place, and he just had the open line on the driver's left side on the strong grip line, just kind of took away 2nd.
Well, he could have pushed for it, but decided against it. We've got a bit of side-by-side further back as Ivan Machado's just lost out to Shoma Shintani. Let's take a look at the GSRC replay here. Matt Boosa was a bystander here. Contact as they entered in through the corner. That left Cade Middleton in the middle of the road. And Matt Boosa just got a side swipe as he went by. And look at it, carnage across the road.
You called it perfect. Unfortunately, Boosa was caught up in the other 2 cars incident. He actually went driver's right to try to avoid it all, but they cascaded back across the track and right into the tire wall. Several of them went. But I tell you what, this fight up front is not going anywhere. It is 7 cars. Miranda, Caruana, Loyola, Ovcharov, Shintani, Perez, and Aiden Young all trying to get to the front.
They're all trying to make some movement. Matt Caruana has to make a late chink over to the right-hand side, and now's looking side by side up through the S's. He backs out of it, which brings Felipe Cabrera back into position. Then Leo Ovcharov just watches on the scene, and Shoma Shintani, the Japanese driver, who is going into this one with the lowest chances of making his way through, is now going to need to find a couple points, which will allow himself that way to make it happen. It's worth noting as well with this group, they charge through, Matt Boosa, who's going to continue to be a factor for all of this racing right now, Joey. He actually drove his car with 3 wheels to the pits. That's why he's the best of the cars a lap down in 16th position, and he'll enjoy that because he'll get a few more points by doing so. Caruana looking for 35 as he now puts himself over towards the race lead. Face of pure concentration.
I think Victor's going to argue. Oh, look at the 4th place car, and now we've got contact between 2 of them. I believe that's Leo and also Felipe Cabrera off the track.
Leo Ovcharov was going to be one of those drivers who you thought had a really nice chance for the championship. He was down 10 on Matt Booser, and that contact with someone who's not in the championship fight, how much is that going to irk him as he goes around? He's not got black and orange mechanical flag damage. He can continue on in this race, but he's all the way down behind Cody Deeth at this point as Ivan Machado now finds himself looking here in fourth for third on Shoma Shintani, who is picking up a mega amount of points as the top two run away, Matt Caruana and the champion-elect, Victor Miranda.
I really thought that Shoma Shintani kind of showed up in round number 2 because he missed Coda that first opening round of the championship, and then all of a sudden he was on the podium and he's been doing solid ever since. So I'm not surprised to see him in third place. I think he's going to close that 1 second gap up to Victor and also Matt Caruana, who's leading this race here probably by Oak Tree, and going to bring his pals with him.
Yeah, he's certainly going to look to try and drive back onto this group at 1 second. You talk about 1.5 being where the rubber band of slipstream snaps, and you've got to be so alert when you run through the Oak Tree corner. You head your way onto Madison Avenue, and this is where you find overtaking to become so vital. This is what they build the setup for. This is what they look around on this and try and get what they can. It's all about this run on the slipstream, and you can already sense that Shoma Shintani's been able to pull a couple tenths of a second. Caruana and Miranda are bunt drafting in open wheelers.
I think they realize that if they can run away from this group, or I should say this trio behind, then they can fight amongst themselves at the end, and we've seen that kind of strategy employed a few different times in this series. I just think that the straightaways are long enough here at VIR. It's simply going to pull third, fourth, fifth along, and sure enough, here's Shoma already showing up.
Yeah, so Shoma Shintani is now on the scene, and he'll probably need another lap to get there. Miranda is going to have a little bit of a look out there, but he's going to happily sit in line, and he'll probably wait for the final laps on someone like Matt Caruana. He'll have Jackson Rosenda in his ears, of course, a driver of caliber who is just as strong, just as good as Victor Miranda is, and that just shows you the teamwork that's there. Of course, when you talk about Victor Miranda's team, he's part of the Tony Kanaan esports outfit, and that is what makes him such a strong driver. It's the people he's got around. Now, Cody Deeth, I can just note, has got a black flag, and he's in the pit, so he's dropped right down to the back, and I think Deeth's chances of finding himself into the top three, are looking like they're dashed as well now.
A little bit side by side here. I think this is Byron Mitchell as well as Clay Morris into the uphill S's. This typically isn't somewhere you are side by side with the competitor. Up and around turn number 10, you're going to have to be single file there before you reach the downhill of turn number 11 here. And just, it shows you how intense the battling is. Remember, in order to get in, you got to be the fastest of those 20 all week long, and so yeah, these are the fastest of the fast in the F4 cars.
Byron Mitchell's got damage on the front right of his wing. It's very slight, but it's enough out there as Miranda takes the race lead once again with 6.25 minutes remaining in this race. So Byron Mitchell's really fighting against it there, down in 9th position. He's dropped 2 on this lap, 1 of course to Clay Morris, 1 to Ross Banfield, and Andrew Moran in 6th position is going to wish that he had a chance of putting himself into the picture in that 6th position. And you're talking about what he's doing out there. He's gained 8 places over the race, which means he is the hard charger of those who qualified. So he's definitely done a perfect job out there. Group continues here at the front. Caruana on the back then of that in 2nd position right now, first position, which is Victor Miranda. Shintani there in 3rd, then it's Machado, then it's Aiden Young. Those 5 looking for points. Aiden Young is the quiet one in that group. He's got a chance still, of course, of qualifying his way into the shootout with a top 3 overall in this championship. He's done nothing to stand out in this race so far, and he's been rewarded for it, Joey.
And of these 5 drivers, every single one of them has found the podium in the previous rounds at least once already. So these drivers know how to race up at the front. They're going to do everything in their power to claim another checkered flag. And really, it's kind of been up to Victor and Caruana. These 2 drivers have settled it out at the front before, and it's always been the chess game. But is it Shoma Shintani who's just kind of lurking there in 3rd place that's actually in the catbird seat? Because when you get side-by-side drafting in these cars, especially early on the straightaway, it punches that huge hole behind.
Oh, it really does, and that huge hole you can certainly sense is what Matt Caruana is going to utilize to his advantage. You can sense the difference. He's at 225 kilometers an hour on Madison Avenue. A block to the inside. Shoma Shintani nowhere to go. As Matt Caruana tries to run away, Victor Miranda says, no, I want the best seat in the house, which is second. And the mark of a champion is that sometimes they have to be ruthless, and he was not going to cede any more track position than one place.
I'm actually looking at even Machado here on this front straightaway. He's the car fourth in line. He is literally underneath the rear wing of Shoma Shintani. He's close enough to make a move. He's going to look down to the right side in turn number one. You can't go crashing into those two cars in front of you. Shoma's going to hang tough on the outside. It's the longer way around, but if you can carry the momentum, you will be the inside for three, but it looks like even Machado is up into third.
And Ivan Machado has been the epitome of consistency over the course of these races. That's what's got himself to second in the championship coming into today's racing here at VIR. This is what gets him so well in these championships. He just knows where to find the finish. Aiden Young often has the support of his father. You can see him there in the background, acting as his spotter, trying to give him as much help as possible. Sat there in the background, hidden his face behind Aiden Young's face, driving at this moment. And on the back of that train, he'll probably be advising him, you don't need to move yet, because you'll know when the final lap comes along, there are going to be dramas out there. And speaking of dramas, it looks like Ross Banfield's dropping down the timing order. He's had a big spin.
Yeah, definitely off the track, missing a rear wing as well, so some contact somewhere. But even Machado got way wide off of turn number 10 this last lap and is almost kind of, call it 5 car lengths off of the lead as we check back in with Byron Mitchell, Clay Morris, and Andrew Moran. That's the 3 cars that are on the screen right now. Andrew, the trio, he's leading it.
Well, Andrew Moran made the contact with Ross Banfield. Ross Banfield actually clattered into the marshal's post as they went through. We will be on last lap watch in just a moment, but this is the contact side by side up through the S's. Moran and Banfield. Banfield takes the tap, and he's desperately trying to save the car. Nowhere to go. Open guardrail. Goodbye rear wing.
Yeah, and it's kind of silly that the safety corner station is out there, but trust me, you need it in the uphill S's. It almost looks like we're 2x2 going in here to turn number 1 on a pace lap, but trust me, this is 2 laps to go, I should say. We'll be coming to the white flag after this one. Miranda up front, Caruana, and then Machado sitting here in third place, but he's got a lot of pressure from Shoma Shintani. I think that ever since Machado got up into the third place, he actually slid wide on the apex of turn number 10, and the same thing out of turn number 17, kind of opened the door for Shoma Shintani to take a look.
Look, Shoma needs it a lot more than Ivan Machado. Machado's got points to burn in the back pocket. He's definitely got the drops as well, which allows him a lot more flexibility out there. But these drivers are thinking about maximum point tools to keep themselves out of trouble. For example, if Ivan Machado gets first position, if it was perfect driving out there from everyone else around, he would only need an 11th or a 12th place to get himself that safety that he needs to jump in. It's all about mitigating risk and factor, and it's about where they want to be about, I would say, 5.26 kilometers from now, because it's all about where you place yourself, the right time, the right place, the right moment. That's where you're trying to go. Here goes Matt Caruana. He's looking for the race lead as he dives through on Madison Avenue, and again he will just look and say, you know what, I've got it, but look out behind, because Ivan Machado is starting to poke the nose.
I almost thought there was a little bit of front left to right rear contact between Machado and Victor Miranda, but to your point, Jake, I want to be in second place coming out of Oak Tree onto the back straightaway on that final lap. I want to utilize the slipstream going into turn number 14 roller coaster and then accelerate out of 17 to the line here.
Well, they've got 1 lap here in race 1 to try and get what they want. Caruana moves defensive as he goes through. Second in the line, Shoma Shintani slides out then on the dirty side of the circuit. Miranda trying to look down to the inside through the NASCAR bend, hoping there's an opportunity there, but it's not much to go through. A lot of wheel work having to be done with the force feedback that Miranda's dealing with. You can see his muscles tensing as he goes through every single corner, trying to get an angle, but for the first time, Matt Caruana gets a tiny gap of 0.3 of a second, and he won't have these cars breathing down his neck quite as heavily on this run underneath the entrance to the circuit and up through the S's. It's now about drive as Ivan Machado now looks to try and jump up a couple positions. Shintani's moved up onto the back, and Aiden Young's going to have to start thinking about where he wants to be. Through the South Bend they go, and up towards Oak Tree once again. This is where the run becomes vital. Take a massive wide line and attack off the exit. Good drive by Matt Caruana, but I don't think it's enough. And here's the Serpentine trying to desperately break some slipstream away, trying to get 35 points in the back pocket. But here comes the champion, Victor Miranda, closing and closing and closing and looking for a way to move all the way to the inside. Even two tires in the grass like Ryan Hunter-Reay did once upon a time. And now to the outside to take this one away. He takes the move, and the mark of a champion, having to follow so diligently. He's done brilliantly. Still got the hog pen to defend though, and that run towards the line, down through the final corners and making that drive along. It's Victor Miranda now who's got one last defense, because here comes Caruana on the left-hand side. It's a long row. They interlock wheels. It's a drag race to the line. Miranda's stolen it by nothing, less than 1,000th of a second. A brilliant finish.
You see the smirk coming out of his face. He knew that he just barely got that thing. Maybe the transponder was mounted 1 millimeter further forward than Caruana, and there's just the sigh of disappointment out of Matt's face. He thought he might have had it. Jake, I thought that was perfectly played on Miranda's part. Got on the lead on the back straightaway, accelerated out of turn 17, took the shorter distance to the start-finish line, the driver's right side, which forced Caruana to take a longer route to the to start-finish. That's what lost him the race.
Wow, well, that is a race and a half that we have just had, and the two quickest drivers, some may argue, in this series could not be separated to 3 decimal places. Victor Miranda, they'll call it 0.001 by hand over Matt Caruana, with Ivan Machado finishing off in third. Shoma Shintani fourth, with Aiden Young picking up a vital 5th place finish overall. Andrew Moran would take a very nice 6th place finish to go into the back pocket, with 7th belonging to Felipe Cabrera, the pole sitter. Bryce Weyer will end up in 8th, with 9th belonging to Clay Morris, and Leo Ovcharov rounding out the top 10.
Across the page, over in 11th was Byron Mitchell, Sebastian Schettini in 12th place, Gal Adrian Cohen in 13th. Then comes the cars that had some troubles on the racetrack and finished multiple laps down, or did not finish at all. Ross Banfield, Cody Deeth, Matt Busa, Cade Middleton, Patrick Hingston, and Stephen Cody.
Well, those are the drivers to keep in mind with what they've been able to do. We are going to very quickly talk championship standings. This is how they walk in, and we're going to have to keep an eye out as they go through. Victor Miranda on 204 as he walked in today. Ivan Machado was down by 24. You got Matt Boost there and Matt Caruana, the difference makers as they went through. Then it was Leo Ovcharov, Byron Mitchell, Aiden Young, Cody Deeth, Shoma Shintani, and Felipe Cabrera Loyola on the wrong side of it at the moment to score the points that he needs for his overall hopes in the championship. Joey, that was a big race in a number of ways. We're going to do some math here to try and calculate some point drops and see where everything stands after that. But what brilliant driving in that race one.
Absolutely, and I'm really not surprised to see those two guys up at the front duking it out for the finish. We got to remember, Victor now with that win, 5 wins already this season. Caruana ups his to 4 podiums total. So these two drivers, they're some of the best that we've seen all year long. And I'm not surprised that we saw him playing chess at the end of it all. It all came down to that back straightaway, that very final lap. And ultimately, Victor Miranda, the guy with all the wins, came home with another one.
Now, as I do the math as it stands here, I put Caruana in at the moment here, Joey, and in by 6 over Matt Busa. Busa no longer has that 8th place drop, so he needs to score points from way back in the field, so he's got a lot of work to do. But Caruana, his nearest challenger after that, is, believe it or not, still going to be Leo Ovcharov, but he's down 19 points here. Caruana has to finish. He's got no drops, so the question's going to be on everyone else on what was an incredible race that we had going forward, where it was all about positioning and placement. This was as high speed of a chess game that you can possibly have over 15 minutes. That was bullet.
And Jake, quite honestly, I do feel for Matt Busa on that opening lap there. He just kind of got caught up in a wreck that was 2 other cars, and he was doing everything possible to keep his car furthest driver's right to avoid it, but both of those cars just came right back on the track. He had nowhere to go. So in terms of the championship, yeah, it's definitely a hit for Matt Busa, but we still have another 15-minute race left. Like you said, the other competitors that were around him, other than Caruana, they didn't fare too well either, so there is still life left for him.
There is still that life, and you've got to keep an eye out on who is going to make that push. Ivan Machado should pretty much have himself safe. He's got 18 points in the back pocket. He'd go to 228 points overall should he have to use that drop round. And of course, you're looking around at 228. Can Busa find his way to 228? He can, but it's going to be very difficult for him to try and get everything that he wants. So there's still going to be that push to try and get over the line for it, but there is still going to be chances for those drop rounds to get into play. We know how important these drivers have been fighting. We know that it all might just hinge on what certain drivers do in this second race. But when you're at race 10 of 10, Joey, you've got nothing to lose. Are they all going to throw the kitchen sink at this one?
It's a difficult subject. They're not going to go and wreck everybody, right? That's not what these drivers do. They're pros for a reason, and that's because they keep it clean. Yeah, they might be a little bit more aggressive, and let's say, all right, if the door's open and you can make a lunge, it is the last race of the season. Can you grab those points? You might as well try to seize hold of the opportunity. But Jake, I don't think we're going to see anybody just going from the back of the field, making huge moves into turn number 1 or off into turn number 14. Yeah, the aggression might be ramped up, but I still expect a very, very good race at the front.
Well, it's one race, and still we've got 2 places to fully book. We believe Ivan Machado is all but in, but then you've still got Matt Caruana versus Matt Busa. There may well be a Matt that is in at the end. The grid, of course, will stack up the same way that they finished in race number 1, with the one exception being Cody Deeth will not take his grid position because he has decided that his championship is over. Victor Miranda on the pole with Matt Caruana alongside for company. It is then Ivan Machado in 3rd and Shoma Shintani going from 4th position. Aiden Young starts 5th with Andrew Moran in 6th position, along with Felipe Cabrera Loyola and Bryce Wire there in 8th place. Clay Morris will start 9th. Work to do for Leo Ovcharov. Outside shot needs help from Matt Caruana. He's in 10th.
Byron Mitchell in the number 4 will start in 11th with Sebastian Schettini in 12th. Gal Adrian Cohen in 13th. Ross Banfield 14th. Unfortunately, Cody Deeth will not be starting back here in 15th. Matt Busa in 16th. Cade Middleton 17th. Patrick Hinkston 18th. And then the final car is going to be Stephen Cody in that number 20.
That number 20 machine needing to try and move forward here, of course, with all that has been going on. It has been a long season, a brilliant season worth of racing, and these drivers want to reach that shootout. That's what they're aiming for. They're aiming to be the next Elvis Rankin, the next Sebastian Weldon, who has come through this series and has gone on to drive and win the championship at Skip Barber level. And you look around at those drivers who've been able to do it. It's now, of course, the other Weldon brother who is leading that championship. And you look down and you talk about the history of this championship and how important it has been that sim racing over the last 3 years, Joey, has been a fantastic gateway to get drivers into the real world.
I think it opens a new door, a new avenue to pursue racing, right? Not everybody has a go-kart facility right next to them or even in a driving distance. And sim racing, it provides that opportunity to go racing not only on your local track, but every single global track that's here on the iRacing service. You can be in an F4 car, you can be in a GT3 car. If you want to go race in the rain, you can do that. If you want to go slide some off-road trucks, you can do that. But ultimately, here in these F4 cars in the Skip Barber Racing School, you got to know VIR. I mentioned it at the beginning. It's one of my favorite tracks in all of the planet Earth. And here we are to end it all with Skip Barber. It's going to come down to the next 15 minutes, Jake.
Matt Caruana on the front row of the grid. Just keep it on the road. Second will be enough to book your place into the shootout. You've got the driver who booked his place last time out about 3 weeks ago. They've had a lot of time to practice and put the hours in to get this circuit down pat, and Victor Miranda has been that driver. Ivan Machado pretty much has his place set and his eyes focused. Shoma Shintani needs help. Aiden Young needs help. You look around from 16th, he needs 6 points, Matt Busa. On Matt Caruana, that's the equivalent of 3 places. And if you're a little bit further down, if you're Matt Caruana, that can be up to 6 places out there. Green flag in the air for the final time this season, 2024. What do you have to offer? Fantastic start by Caruana, but Miranda is going to challenge him every single phase of the way. On the brakes into turn 1, big up and under coming, contact in the middle of the field as one car is going to get shuffled out of contention back down to the mid-pack. It's Andrew Moran, but everyone's just about made it cleanly in towards NASCAR Bend.
It was 3 wide still there in turn number 3, but it's Miranda out front. Caruana's going to try to pull an over-under here in the lower S's. Shoma Shintani's got to get back on the racing line. This is where we saw the huge accident in race number 1. The entire field through the lower S's cleanly.
Yeah, they've done fantastically. Matt Busa's had a good start. He's up 3 places and looking for a 4th on Ross Banfield. And Matt Busa in this series has been the nearly man so often. He has been on the cusp of booking his place for championship acquisition, and he does not want to be on the wrong side for a 3rd straight Skip Barber series.
I think we saw a couple of these tires still not quite up to temperature. The leader went off there in turn number 10. I think I saw Shoma Shintani off there in turn number 10, but I can tell you all 18 cars that are on the racetrack, they're separated by less than a quarter of a second apiece down the back straightaway.
Well, that just shows you how important the draft is. As you can see, Matt Busa, a face of concentration, knowing that it was taken away from him in race 1. He's got to do all the work in race 2. Stark looking for a way through, and now he finds himself off the road again in the number 7 car with contact. This has not been his night. At one of the worst times of the season to do it, the very end, he topples over the top of the tyres of Ross Banfield.
And, you know, I went back and looked at it already, and I just think that was a racing incident, a real shame for that number 7, but get the visor back down, get back out on the racetrack. You still don't know what can happen in the next 12 and a half minutes.
Well, he'll be absolutely there at the back of the field, knowing that he is now down in the pits with a black flag penalty out there, so he has got to sit and wait and hold that, and because of that, he is a mile away from what he wants, and I think his championship effort's over, which now means it falls to Leo Ovcharov, Shoma Shintani, and Aiden Young, and they need Matt Caruana basically to drop a bucket of points right now, which means that they need Caruana to tangle.
Yeah, and that's going to be difficult because he's been one of 2 of the fastest cars we've seen earlier. It's been up to him and Miranda up front, and right now it's Caruana that's leading the race. So you're asking the guy up front to basically bin it all by himself, or have Victor, who's got however many wins, what did I say, 5 wins already this season, to go crashing into Caruana. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to have to be from the pressure. Maybe Victor can drive him off the track, force him into a little bit of a mistake.
Well, you're going to have to get more players in the game. You can't let the top 2 run because they've been clean, they've been effective over the course of this run. Here comes the move by Ivan Machado. He has just got the memo. We've got to start making some progress, and there you can see it. There's a look in the right-hand corner of your screen of what wheel work they have to do up over the top, absolutely battering the curves there as they go on through. You have got to be so switched on. Fifth gear and looking to charge in the slipstream, hoping for a move over to the left or the right, following that run on the slipstream, hoping that there's going to be a chance to that inside. There's a little pivot as they go through, and look at how they found at Caruana's perspective, looking back down to the inside, hoping to take it back again once more, and does so on Ivan Machado, with Shintani waiting with Young and Felipe Cabrera in the background.
Turn 1 is such a long corner. Caruana did an excellent job to keep the nose tucked into the apex there, and even Machado just pretty much took the long way around, and that wasn't going to be the fast way. Victor Miranda almost loses it all by himself. We were talking about Caruana possibly making a mistake. This time it was Victor and Jake. It's stacking them all up behind him.
It is. They're going to have to start thinking, where do you want to be? Where do you want to go? Side by side, they will now fly through the S's. This is massive. Miranda and Matt Caruana, you're just dancing on the limit. Caruana's through. Dancing through at the South Bend goes Ivan Machado. Through goes Shoma Shintani, who will now have to fight on the outside, heading up towards Oak Tree, and will get the place. 3 lost on 1 mistake, about a mile away from where the incident happened.
Yeah, so Jake, I was in the sim last night in these F4 cars at VIR, and that corner right there, the turn 4, 5, 5A complex leading into the lower S's, it is incredibly tricky. The back end really wants to float out on you and also have to manage that track limit over on driver's left. What happened was Victor just flirted with that track limit a little bit too much, got that left rear in the dirt, but thankfully was able to save it.
Now that was a wakey moment there for Victor Miranda. You could see he dipped his head and he blinked as if he'd just woken up, and he'd realised, hang on a minute, I'm in a race and I've just dropped 3 places, so he's got work to do. There's a look on the back of the rear wing, and this will be a huge indicator on where you make passes, how important it is to make these moves. And over to the outside, tries the look from Ivan Machado. You've got Shoma Shintani in there. Oh, and there's almost contact with Victor Miranda. They are stacking up behind, trying to find a little bit of an angle here, and that's what Caruana wants. He wants them to scrap behind, and Miranda is turned around in the barriers with Shoma Shintani's championship in tatters.
I was just about to mention that Shintani was going to lose out being on the outside of turn number 3, and I actually think that it was Victor that slid into the middle lane, made contact with Shoma Shintani. Unfortunately, you see Victor already hitting that tow button. Shintani is in the lower S's continuing on. Not sure if he's got damage, but he's only about 2.5 seconds behind the draft pack.
Yep, so he'll have a chance to get back through, but it's now Caruana, Perez, and Ivan Machado, and Aiden Young, your top 3. Felipe Cabrera Loyola now up to 4th, and a mistake there running through, and Matt Caruana cedes the position, and all of a sudden everyone is a little bit on edge with 8 minutes and 20 seconds to go. Nobody can seem to find themselves a clean run here at VIR, and now Felipe Cabrera Loyola pushes it 3 wide on the straight, and suddenly Matt Caruana just backs out of it and goes to Leo Ovcharov in about 4th position. He is prioritizing a finish. This is very Proustian in the way that he's driving here from young Matt Caruana.
He needs to back out of this completely. I know that he's sitting in the 5th place and he just got swamped on the back straightaway, but these drivers are incredibly aggressive right now. They're making passes, they're squeezing into the narrowest areas, and here we go. Felipe Cabrera Loyola on the inside. He's going to try to take away the lead. He's also got Aiden Young following in the slipstream into turn number 1. That's Ivan Machado on the outside. Let's see if he's going to be able to put the power down. Looks like Aiden Young is going to have to try to slip back in or maybe do an over-under here in NASCAR turn number 3.
Well, there are definitely chances, and they're still side by side as Caruana looks to battle back with Leo Ovcharov. Ovcharov commanding the corner. Very nearly contact behind with Byron Mitchell getting himself in. Bryce Ware in the group. Clay Morris, Ross Banfield, and Andrew Moran make it a 10-pack out there at the front, and they are all looking around at each other thinking who wants what. Ivan Machado, who has been Mr. Second place all season, currently in 2nd, seeing behind him that Aiden Young is swarming looking for an opportunity to get through. All of these drivers realise with 6 minutes and 43 seconds to go that there's only one victory left this season. If they want it, they're going to have to take it.
And quite honestly, we've been talking about Caruana and just the landscape of the points. I like where he's sitting right now in 5th place. He's got a bunch of drivers ahead of him that are kind of feisty right now, and he's got just kind of a small little gap back to Byron Mitchell, who's sitting in 6th place. But look at this. Felipe versus Even again. Looks like Machado's going to be on driver's right heading into turn number 14. We've seen the left side have the grip, but this time it's the inside line down the hill.
And just like that, it is comfy then for Ivan Machado, who moves to the front of this group with 6 minutes to go in this one. Felipe Cabrera hoping that he's got a chance. Young sitting quietly. Ovcharov there needs some help. Caruana doing what he needs to in 5th position, trying to stay quiet in the group and out of trouble, which the leaders are doing as everyone else follows in tow. They fan 3 wide once more to the opener, and it's Felipe Cabrera latest on the brakes, diving through. Caruana behind has made the move on Ovcharov and has moved up to 4th, but crucially it's a hold on the opening corner from Ivan Machado, but only for the moment because NASCAR Bend comes along side by side. They will now look to slide on through. And where do you go at this left hook right now as you try and dive it into the corner and the switch back on the right hook to get yourself in towards the snake? And suddenly it's Felipe Cabrera with nowhere to go as they dance side by side once more in a tango they know all too well, heading up towards the S's.
But Caruana, sorry to step on you there, has got a head of steam on Aiden Young. Looks like the uphill S's is going to get really busy. Almost contact between Ovcharov and also Matt Caruana there. I can't spit the words out of my mouth. And more wiggling coming out of turn number 10.
And it's all there. And remember, Leo Ovcharov is the next nearest challenger if Caruana's in trouble. And now Caruana drops another one, this time to Byron Mitchell. So he falls again and drops more points out there. But he knows that he's still got enough gap to play with right now with that 6th position and a face as stoic as ever. He'll look to get that back on Byron Mitchell on this charge. It's allowed the top 3 to break away here. And that might just be to the benefit here of Matt Caruana. He's got less to worry about in front, closing that field back up again.
I think so, but I still worry about the slipstream being so powerful with Ovcharov sitting there in 4th place. It's always towards the front of the field, so I think he's going to close that in. Perez, Loyola, Aiden Young are those front 3, but with 4 minutes left, got a few more laps, and I don't think it's over. I think that rest of the draft pack is going to close it in again.
Well, it's one of those things. It opens, it closes, it opens, it closes, it gets close, and there's a spin, a big spin going through for Aiden Young, who on the inside's in trouble. Rear wing gone almost for Ivan Machado. Car massively off in the background at turn 1. Drama everywhere.
Yeah, it was Machado that had a second incident with Felipe Cabrera Loyola, and the number 3 car finds himself 1.4 seconds out in front as everybody else is scrapping for the rest.
Well, Felipe Cabrera Loyola's just dropped.
Gone.
So just like that, he's gone. He's absolutely gone. Leo Ovcharov leads.
What is going on right now? Turn number 1, the first half a lap at VIR with 3.5 minutes left. Everything is unfolding. Ovcharov out front, Byron Mitchell second. Matt Caruana finds himself in a podium position again.
He does. He has this magical way of putting himself in the craziest lap of sim racing you might have seen in a very long time. And now you start wondering here of Ovcharov, Mitchell, Caruana. Caruana realizes that, okay, yes, Felipe Cabrera is now out. So too is Cade Middleton and Patrick Hingston. Miranda and Boos are out. That's 5 places. No Cody Deeth either. You're looking down the points hall. It's getting very tough for him to drop this now. And a little bit of math's going to go a long way. Round the outside, tries Byron Mitchell. Oh, through the roller coaster he goes for it. Ovcharov holds.
This is going to be very interesting coming to 2 laps to go. Let's get a replay of exactly what happened in turn number 1 here with Cade Middleton. Looks to be a little bit of contact coming out of the exit. Oh, just got the left rear hooked on another car, and both of them off into the guardrail.
Well, it is as quick as that can happen. It's 18 points,
we got
remember.
problems up
Caruana
front.
and Ovcharov, but that's Ovcharov off. And just like that, Ovcharov is gone, and he's also gone off with someone else, and that is Byron Mitchell. They've taken each other out of contention. Caruana has the coolest head in a world full of pistol shooters.
So, Jake, just before that replay, I was going to mention that the landscape, the points have totally changed up front in these podium positions because Caruana was surrounded by drivers that aren't in that championship hunt, that haven't been on the podium before. They were going to be even more aggressive than the group that I was talking about earlier. Well, guess what? Caruana has only got to deal with that number 17 of Bryce Wire right now, who's had a fantastic race, up 6 positions. Same thing with Ross Banfield, up 11 positions to sit in third.
Well, the only thing that could cost potentially this race now is that if somehow Ovcharov can find his way to win and Caruana has himself an issue out there on circuit, that's the only way. They'll have one lap after this to decide this season. We've still got victory to keep in mind. Bryce Ware is in a position he did not think he was going to be at, starting 19th in race 1. Let's take a look at this one. So 3 wide into the opening corner, Joey. Oh, and they just give each other enough room by Caruana diving to the inside, and nobody was wanting to cede anything.
It was a sneaky little move from Caruana, and he by no means forced the accident, but he forced it 3 wide. The driver in the middle left room on the inside. That's what forced him to that third car on the outside lane. Caruana definitely benefited, and off to the lead he goes.
1 lap of your Skip Barber Formula iRacing series for 2024 remains. Andrew Moran with the fastest lap. It is Matt Caruana in the number 8 car who leads. It's Bryce Ware who is looking to try and find his way to get through, but don't count out Ross Banfield, Clay Morris or Andrew Moran from putting themselves up with a massive result at the end of this one. Caruana knows he's just got to finish this lap, and he has booked his place because he has been nigh on faultless here tonight, where everyone else has been there in trouble. A small adjustment of his fringe as he now heads himself towards the S's. He will still keep an eye on Ware, who started 19th in race number 1. Dead last in this one, got himself all the way up to 8th in race number 1, and now finds himself in second and sliding his way through the South Bend and now up towards Oak Tree. There is still a chance that Ware has a chance to make this move, but he's going to need all the slipstream at half a second back to make this one count, and you can get the sense, the smile, the realization that is there from Matt Caruana, that he feels that Bryce Ware is not going to be close enough along Madison Avenue, the prime place, to get it done. It will be one long move that's next. Ware gets himself into the mirrors. Rule 101 of sim racing: make the car as wide as possible, but not close enough. Down the hill at the roller coaster, over towards the hog pen. For everyone else, it's been quite mucky, but he has been pristine here today, and he knows how big this is going to be. A big sigh of relief. Caruana will take the race win and will find himself here in October for the shootout.
Bryce Wire, second place. Ross Banfield finishing in third. Those are the first podiums for those 2 drivers this season. Fantastic runs, but you're right, it's all about Caruana and those championship points that he was able to secure there in the final round here at VIR.
It's a huge, huge win for Matt Caruana, who knows how big that is going to be when all things are considered, and he is just hoping that in all that he has done, that he's got one more to do with. A big smile on Aiden Young's face as he crosses the line, 6th position. It was a tough final run to get on board there and get the result that was needed. So you start sitting around and saying, well, what has everyone produced? There's been some wonderful racing. Victor Miranda still there, and I think that he realizes that he is going to be champion. He knew he was going to be champion, and there was so much there. Joey, absolutely incredible work here in this final race of the season. It had everything.
It did have everything. I mean, we saw Victor on top again. What, 5 different wins? Sure, it didn't end up the way that he wanted it in race number 2, but we saw over, I think it was 10 or 11 different people on the podium, multiple different race winners. So it's been a fantastic season.
It really has, and we can get confirmation then of this result for you. Then race 10 of 10. Matt Caruana gets it done. 16 minutes, 28 seconds. He wins by 3/10 over Bryce Weyer with Ross Banfield third and Clay Morris in fourth position. Andrew Moran will get a top 5 then in his last race of the season with Aiden Young sixth. And what a drive by Sebastian Sedano-Shattini up into 7th position. Byron Mitchell would pick up 8th with Stephen Cody 9th and Leo Ovcharov rounding out the top 10.
Even Machado finishing in 11th. Shoma Shintani back here in the 12th place position. Gal Adrian Cohen was the last car to finish on the lead lap in 13th, and unfortunately everybody else had problems. That includes Felipe Cabrera Loyola, who disconnected while he was in the lead of the race. Cade Middleton, Patrick Hingston, Victor Miranda, Matt Busa, and Cody Deeth.
You were all there, and they found themselves with so much going on over the course of this race. We are going to get the chance to talk to some of our drivers. Victor Miranda is here with us first and foremost. Victor, you came into today, you knew you were champion of this series, and you have found yourself then with some amazing racing. First and foremost, you didn't have enough decimal points to claim you won that one. You squeaked it in race 1.
Oh my God, I'm really wrapped. Just two thoughts this draft. Congrats to Matt. He did a really good race. And you know, the 1/10 of, I don't know the time, but we won the first race and won the champ. I'm so excited to be on Virginia on October. And yeah, that's it. I'm really happy.
You're really happy, and just talk us through race 2, an incident with Shintani. What emotions are you taking now from here to October when you're going to be battling out there in the shootout for a seat worth effectively $500,000 US?
Oh, I'm really happy. Too excited to be there, and yeah, put all on track and make it, all the stuff happen, and yeah, that's it. Let's do that.
Well, there you have it. Victor Miranda, our champion, joining us then overall. He'll be one of 3 who will be jumping through, which we can confirm is going to be Ivan Machado, and is also going to be one Mr. Matt Caruana. Those 3 will be here at VIR in October, putting themselves in. Joey, final thoughts as we bid adieu here to 2024 series, and these sim races now, we have our 3 representatives.
It's been an awesome season. I mean, from COTA to Lime Rock to Road America to VIR, it's just been phenomenal. All 5 races long with the 15-minute format. And we saw it today, too, between Victor up front, Caruana playing the chess games on the last lap, and then ultimately fireworks in the final 15 minutes of the season.
An amazing season that we have had here, over 10 races, and we'll want to do it all over again in a year, I'm sure. But from everyone who's got it done, from the likes of Dougie, from Joey, from the likes, of course, of Daniel and Christian, who's been along for the ride, this has been your Skip Barber Racing School Formula iRacing series. We got 3 clear right now. Victor Miranda, you've got, of course, Ivan Machado, and you've got Matt Caruana. Those 3 go to the shootout, where one will hopefully get a seat.